The moment a narcissist realizes they let the best person go, have you ever wondered if a narcissist reaches the painful moment of realizing they lost the one person they never should have taken for granted? Most people believe narcissists move on without regret, but reality becomes far more complicated when their illusions finally begin to collapse. The person they discarded may eventually become the one they secretly compare everyone else against for years afterward. That realization rarely happens immediately, because narcissists rely on denial to protect themselves from emotions they refuse to face. At first, they convince themselves losing you is insignificant, believing someone even better will always appear whenever they want attention. Their confidence often comes from believing admiration, validation, and affection will always be available regardless of how they treat people. Because of this mindset, they rarely appreciate genuine love while they still have it, chasing control and constant admiration instead. Real emotional security feels unfamiliar because it cannot be manipulated or replaced with superficial charm whenever problems arise. The person who truly loved them often offered patience, understanding, and support beyond what most relationships ever provide. Instead of valuing those qualities, they focused on imagined flaws, convincing themselves they deserved someone even better. This endless search for perfection blinds them to the extraordinary value already standing before their eyes every day. Many narcissists mistake stability for boredom because emotional drama feels normal within their understanding of relationships. As long as someone remains available, they underestimate that person's worth, assuming loyalty will continue despite poor treatment. Then something unexpected happens that completely changes the emotional landscape they believed they controlled. You stop chasing, stop explaining, and quietly begin creating a peaceful life that no longer revolves around them. Your silence removes the emotional fuel that once reassured them they still influenced your thoughts and emotions. Without realizing it, you become increasingly difficult to replace because genuine emotional availability cannot be manufactured through charm. The new relationships they enter may provide excitement, yet something quietly feels incomplete despite every attempt to ignore it. Other people may admire their confidence or success, but few offer the deep emotional acceptance they once received from you. Gradually, comparisons begin forming inside their mind, even if they never admit those thoughts to anyone. They remember how you listened carefully without constant judgment, even during moments they failed to deserve such patience. They remember your encouragement during difficult seasons when others would have walked away much sooner. Those memories become increasingly difficult to dismiss because authentic care cannot easily be duplicated. Ironically, the qualities they once considered ordinary become the very qualities they desperately search for in others. The more unsuccessful those searches become, the more uncomfortable their private thoughts begin challenging old beliefs about you. Instead of accepting responsibility, they often blame circumstances, timing, or anyone except themselves for the painful outcome. Admitting they caused the loss threatens the carefully constructed identity they have spent years protecting. That internal conflict creates frustration because reality refuses to support the fantasy that every failure was someone else's fault. Some narcissists distract themselves through work, attention, expensive purchases, or constant dating to silence uncomfortable emotions. Unfortunately, distractions cannot permanently erase the awareness that something meaningful disappeared because of their own choices. As months or years pass, the emotional contrast becomes much clearer than it appeared during the relationship. They begin recognizing admiration from strangers never created the same emotional safety your presence quietly provided. Surface-level relationships start feeling repetitive because genuine intimacy requires vulnerability they never fully embraced. For perhaps the first time, they realize authentic love cannot simply be demanded whenever loneliness becomes overwhelming. This realization often arrives during birthdays, holidays, quiet evenings, or personal setbacks when superficial connections feel painfully empty. Memories become stronger because emotional absence highlights what constant presence once quietly provided. The small acts of kindness they overlooked suddenly appear much larger once those moments can never return. Many people expect narcissists to apologize immediately, but genuine accountability remains extremely difficult for most. Instead, they may reconnect through unexpected messages, casual conversations, or indirect attempts to see whether you remain available. Sometimes those efforts are motivated by loneliness rather than genuine personal growth, making their intentions more complicated. True change requires accepting responsibility without excuses, and that develops only through sincere self-reflection. Without meaningful growth, they often repeat familiar patterns because manipulation feels safer than vulnerability. That is why returning does not necessarily mean they finally understand the pain they caused. Some simply miss losing someone who genuinely believed in them despite countless disappointments. Others miss the stability your presence created because few people remain patient after repeated disrespect. There is an important difference between missing someone's value and becoming healthy enough to protect that value. Recognizing that difference helps you avoid confusing temporary regret with genuine transformation. If they truly let the right person get away, the greatest punishment may not come from revenge. Their greatest consequence may be spending years searching for something they unknowingly already possessed. Meanwhile, the person they underestimated often discovers peace, confidence, and emotional freedom once thought impossible. Healing allows you to recognize your worth without depending on someone else's inconsistent validation. As your confidence grows, you naturally attract healthier relationships built on mutual respect instead of confusion. That quiet transformation becomes something the narcissist can observe but never recreate through manipulation. Watching you thrive without needing their approval challenges the beliefs that once made them feel superior. They finally understand genuine love was never something guaranteed simply because another person cared deeply. Love required appreciation, respect, consistency, and responsibility, qualities they ignored until the opportunity disappeared. Some narcissists never admit this painful truth because doing so requires confronting years of harmful choices. Yet deep inside, they may recognize the relationship they dismissed was unlike anything they have found since. The one they underestimated becomes the standard every future relationship silently struggles to match. Whether they confess those feelings or continue hiding behind pride, the emotional reality remains difficult to escape. For you, the lesson is beautifully simple, even though living through it felt incredibly painful. Never measure your value by someone's inability to recognize the rare love and loyalty you consistently offered. Sometimes the person who finally realizes your worth does so only after your absence teaches what your presence never could. And by then, your life has already moved toward people who appreciate your heart before they ever risk losing it.